our democracy is at risk, and I'm not going to tolerate on any show that I'm paying for, whether it be a co-host or anyone else, saying I am not going to vote. I can't tell you who to vote for. I can't tell you that. But let's not be reckless. And that's really where I am right now, is that we cannot afford to be reckless with our decisions and then be putting it out there. Good evening. This is Dr. Curry.
This is Coby Owens.
And welcome to The Source. Today, Coby, we have so much going on that it's like we got to hurry and get to certain things so that we can make sure we have enough time. We have three different shootings that we want to talk about today. The first one is what happened right here in Southbridge on Wednesday. In the afternoon, it was just really a tragedy. And I really wanted to discuss it. And I'm not in a hurry to get through it. But what do you know about that so far?
Yeah, so again, we have lost another young person to gun violence here in the city of Wilmington. The 400 block of South Hill Street, there was a shooting that involved two 19-year-olds. One was transported to the hospital in stable condition, and unfortunately the other was pronounced dead on the scene. Again, there has been no further details released on this. The crime tape was up and everything. I know that you're going to definitely be looking for more information into this, but again, this is it's the beginning of summer, right? School's about to let out as well too. We always see a spike in gun violence around this time, and it's sad that it started already.
Yeah, and the young man who was killed is the nephew of one of the members here at our church. And she called me immediately. I was not on campus when this occurred. And she just, the whole family is in an uproar. But one of the things that I'm concerned about, and yes, it is summertime. Yes, gun violence go up. Southbridge have done a very good job with keeping shootings down. Now, there have been some here. Don't misunderstand me. But it's like there's beginning to become a trend. And in the area where the trend is happening. This is A Street where Hill Street is. There's a lot of activity constantly going on in that area. How come it's still going on?
And one thing I do want to point out was this happened around 2 o'clock.
Yes.
This is like prime time when kids are starting to get out of school, out of daycare, everything. So I'm glad no additional people were harmed. Right. But again, this is something that the community knows that there has been an issue in this area for a long time at this point. It's the fire station's right there too.
Absolutely.
So again, when you talk about public safety, why are certain neighborhoods being ignored?
Yeah, and that's really what I'm really leading towards is that there's no way in the world we can continue to see the activity right now. Drive up, the chief of police can drive that area at any point, but 2 o'clock in the afternoon is what scares me. Mm-hmm. You're right; they're beginning to get out, but the question is, it's daylight. What? This was targeted. This wasn't like it was a random shooting somewhere. It appears to be, I don't want to act like I'm speaking with facts, that this was targeted. These two young people who were shot, the person who even shot them, why is this activity being freely allowed to just happen? Why are we not cleaning off corners? Is that illegal? You're a person who advocates for people. So maybe you can help me. Maybe that could be the response, because y'all won't let us remove people off corners.
So stop and frisk, right, is something that I oppose.
Right.
It's something that has been used to disproportionately violate people's constitutional
Absolutely.
rights. But what the alternative is actually investing in violence intervention organizations like GVI that the state has, right? That's doing amazing work to cut down on some of this gun violence. But again, not everyone's going to be willing to work with them. So you have to have a variety of different organizations with different people from different areas and influence, right? So again, community policing is a good way to get to that overall community safety and better policing model, right? But you have to implement it the right way. And I will say, I will give it to Chief Campos that he is trying, right? Of course, he's running up against some difficulties with the administration, with the city council, but he has done a better job than Chief Tracy.
Well, everybody's done a better job. Excuse me, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that. That's totally inappropriate. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
But his community policing units, a lot of those guys who are part of that are born and raised in Wilmington or have been in Wilmington for a very long time, grew up here. At least the ones who are on my side of the town. I don't know all of them, but the ones who are on my side of the town. So again, there's a connection there. And I think that has laid the foundation to build a stronger relationship with these individuals, because at the end of the day, kids are going to be kids, right? Yeah. One thing that I always like reminding people is, what were you doing when you were 13, 14, 15, 16?
We weren't hanging on, right? No, we weren't hanging on.
Y'all may not have been hanging on.
We were playing basketball. We was playing football. We were trying to see what girl we like. And
some of y'all,
we weren't selling no drugs. We weren't.
That's true.
We were not in a point where looking to try to get somebody back with a war. Now there was gang war going on.
I'll say this: the drug thing, right? I don't blame these young kids for that. No. I blame the fact that we've let other generations now influence these kids. Okay. And now these older generations have, including my generation, has gotten wise to the laws. That you're less likely to get a severe criminal criminal charges if you're a minor, right? So now that has taken them, the respect for the game is gone. They have, because they're so scared for themselves, right? Because they're over 18, they now go for the 12 and 13-year-olds to get them out there selling drugs on the street, which is sad, which I think violates every code of ethics that you could have as someone who sells drugs. They used to never do that, but now we're seeing it more and more. So again, we need to address that as a culture as well too. Is where do you draw the line? You're not going to be able to fix everything, but at a certain point, you got to say enough is enough. You can't use our babies to do your work. Yeah,
but it seems like it's a retreat. You try to get it, then the advocacy groups, they come in and say you're violating rights.
I'll use this example. Say you have to do a construction project here at the church, right? And you call a company and you know it's been a bad issue, and you say, hey, I need you to take out this one wall, fix it, put a new wall up, right? You step out, you come back an hour later, and they took out everything. They gutted the whole room. Yeah. Now you have an issue.
Absolutely.
Right? So sometimes you know what the issue is, you know you have to fix it, but then the people who have the power to fix it, they go overboard. Okay, they get excessive with it. And that's when advocacy groups are like, all right, well, we try to work with you. Now you're doing too much.
Okay, and that has happened a whole lot, and I do agree with that. But one of the things that I think it was under this current administration, it could have been under Tracy, I don't know, when it comes down to the police department, is that they had some of the police officers from the community there. Because I remember when Officer, I think his name was Daniel Wilson, he used to be a member here at this church, and he came in and met with us to share, whatever we can do to help the community. Let's all work together. And I was like, okay, this is a good thing. Now, was that under Tracy or was it under this current administration? Because it's not happening anymore.
It's coming back now.
Okay.
So they are coming back to meetings. It had went away for a few years.
Okay.
It was actually an initiative started under Mayor Williams.
Oh, okay.
And it kind of rolled over for a while. Then it was ended. But now they are coming back to meetings. Again, they don't know when all meetings are now because it has been such a large gap. So reach out to your sector captain if you have a civic association or something like that. But they are now getting back out there.
Good. All right. Well, I'm gonna leave that alone. But right now, I'm really concerned about this shooting that happened daylight, and right now we don't we have two people. One person is dead. The other person is critical.
Yeah.
That is very, very sad. The family is devastated. And whether the children was doing something bad or good, the reality of it is there's a responsibility of the officials of the city or wherever to be able to keep everybody safe. Our seniors, our children, our middle-aged people need to be able to walk in a community. What if the wrong person was walking across the street and it wasn't a targeted person and they got hit by a bullet? That would have created a serious problem again. So that's why I'm more concerned. Another thing I want to talk about is the Delaware State University situation. You know, I've been very careful about how we handle that because so many different moving parts. But they did find two individuals and they arrested them. One they found in New York. But talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so they found one up in, I think, Brooklyn, New York, and then the other, later that same day, they arrested the other, who was an 18-year-old down in Dover. Yeah. Both of them were involved with the shooting, and they were involved with the altercation, the fight that was going on. The young lady who lost her life, Coby Owens, she had nothing to do with it. She was visiting a friend. She was at a whole different event. She just happened to be outside leaving at the wrong time, and was shot and ended up passing away, unfortunately. But again, this is the narrative that came out first, and I know I talked to this from the university. They made it seem like she was the target. She had nothing to do with the university. This was all on her. And I don't like that narrative. I know as a university, you want to respond very quick, but facts matter. She was a invited guest to their campus. And if this is how you treat invited guests on a public campus, you assume liability for everyone who steps on your campus. So you cannot come out and try to distance yourself. Now, I will say this. If this happened in Wilmington, we would not have the two people arrested right now. The Dover police worked hard. They worked with other agencies, and they found out who did this and was able to move very quickly.
Well, let me add to that. And you're absolutely correct, in my opinion. They did Delaware State, but the Dover police worked very hard with Delaware State Police. Because one of the things when doing my little investigation is that I saw that, to my understanding, the president of Delaware State University put a demand on the police department in Delaware State University saying, look, we need to investigate every person that was in this area. This is all information I've gathered thus far. And we need to find out and get to the root of who the argument was with and things of that nature. And they did work with Dover PD. So I want to just add that little piece. It was Delaware State Police Department, too, Delaware State University Police Department as well. Not trying to play politics, but I'm being very honest.
So again, when this all went down and more information is coming out, Dover police officers, they were doing something else in the area and they heard the gunshots. At the same time they reported the gunshots back to Central Command, a call came into the Delaware State Police reporting gunfire in a fight. When they got in the area, they didn't see anything going on until they got another call about a young lady who was on the ground. And that's when they were able to locate the young lady, the 18-year-old. But again, this is, again, everyone may think that I'm very critical of the police. I will give Chief Johnson his kudos for the work he did from the Dover police with bringing in Delaware State Police, because anything off the campus is not their jurisdiction. Everything in that Dover area is Dover police, but then also they were able to work with the state police, with New York Police Department, to really get this done in a timely manner. In less than 3 weeks, they were able to do a full investigation, figure out who they needed, go after them and charge them. Now, one is already in custody on a $3 million bail down in Sussex, the 18-year-old, and then the 20-year-old is still up in New York, just waiting to be extradited down here once the paperwork goes through. But again, it's a very sad, regardless of what happened, it's very sad that someone lost their life on a college campus, somewhere that is supposed to be a place, a safe place, a place for growth and a place for fun as well too, as you near your adult years. And she had so much life left in her.
And we definitely, we'll take this time to say to the family that we are continuously praying for your strength. And I agree with you at a critical time, but as a supporter of HBCUs, I am always clear that this could have happened anywhere. But what we are grateful for is that attention was put on it. People worked together to bring it about. Yes, it happened at our Delaware State University. Yes, some folks are going to say the black school, but it's not like it could not have happened anywhere else. Did we want it to happen? Absolutely not. Do we feel less safe? Well, yes, because we want to be safe. But whatever you go on a college campus, we just something happened at Ohio State. I just left Ohio State. One of our members graduated with her medical degree, doctor's degree, and at the graduation that Sunday, one of the graduates fell off the bleachers and died. So her whole family then witness her death at graduation. So things happen. We need to deal with gun control in America. Period. We also need to deal with some of this violence that's going on, and that's a collective.
And again, I just want to, because you brought up HBCUs, crime is down at DSU. Yeah. I know they were in the paper a lot for the backlog rape cases and stuff like that. It is down. On the opposite end, at UD, crime has now doubled since last year, almost to the pandemic crime rates at the university, with the highest spike being in the number of rape cases, unfortunately, on that campus there. And
it's funny because the people who are watching us may think they must have their notes together, and we don't. We other than our points. And that was my last comment, that I did look into the crime rate and compared it is down at Delaware State University, but at the University of Delaware. And it's funny, you talk about the rape cycle, that's what they were being criticized for, not for murderers and things of that nature, but they were being criticized for unreported or unfinalized rape cases. But at the University of Delaware, it is unbelievable to the level but I am not trying to prostitute University of Delaware neither. We understand we have to do better with how we handle ourselves, but I do know some of the hard conversations that Tony had to have with not only public safety, but also some of the residents' life folks and everybody else to ensure that people are doing what they need to do. All right, we're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back. And we're back. We ask that you please stay tuned, because at the end of Coby's Corner, when we come back off the break, we're going to talk a little bit about the whole notion of the recklessness of what's going on with some of our younger voters, middle-aged voters, who are basically saying to themselves, I'm not voting for either the two candidates for president. I'm going to go third party. I want to have a little discussion with you, so please stay tuned for that. Coby, what's going on with your Coby Corner?
Yeah, so one of the first things I want to talk about is policing. Okay. So a few months ago, I talked about a state police trooper, Dempsey Waters, who beat up a 15-year-old kid who was playing Ding Dong Ditch on his door, but then also went after a 17-year-old African-American young man who had nothing to do with the incident. Just those two had words with each other the day before, and he followed him home to talk to his mom so he knew where he lived. He's on duty. His wife calls and says kids just, try to break into their house. And he goes crazy, right? He thinks it's this 17-year-old boy who somehow found out where he lived and tried to break into his house. He rounded up a posse of Ellesmere police officers after his supervisor let him go home. He got a helicopter and a K-9 unit from the state police, 4 Ellesmere police officers, and they went on a manhunt for this 17-year-old boy. Found him at his house, lied to him to get into the house, dragged him out his house while he was on FaceTime with his mom, because he saw the cops were outside, so he called her right away. She's a nurse up in Chester. Dragged him out the house, put him in the back of the police car, turned the heat on high. Mind you, this is last summer.
I remember, yeah.
I think it was July or August, turned the heat on high and left him in there for 4 hours until he confessed. Well, they were trying to get him to confess that he tried to break into the officer's house. He had no clue. They kept asking, who are your friends? He had no clue who any of it, what was going on. After 4 hours, the mom's there now, the neighbors are there, they're yelling, they're trying to figure out what's going on. He gets a video from his wife of the kids who actually hit the door from the Ring camera. Now, 4 hours now. Comes to find out, kids look nothing like the young man they had in the back of the car. They let him out, said, oh, we found a gun in his friend's car. That's why we came for him. So the mom's asking, where's the gun? Where's the gun?
Right.
So the gun that they found was a brand new super soaker that his friend had got for his younger siblings that was in the back of his car. That's what they said was a gun.
Wow.
Bright orange and lime green and purple with a yellow tank on it. That's what they said was a gun.
Well, they didn't lie. It was a gun.
I guess. Then they left. She, of course, she's very upset. She's calling around. They left. They found the other kids, and he beat the crap out of that 15-year-old. Put him in the hospital. He had a broken eye socket, concussion, broken ribs, traumatized this young man for just knocking on the door. He made it seem like the kid was trying to break down the door. When the video came out, it was just a boom, boom, boom. Really? He was not fired. He was placed on paid leave. And his friends in Ellesmere, who's known to be racist already, none of them got in trouble. The helicopter driver did not get in trouble for wasting taxpayer dollars for fuel. And the K-9 unit did not get in trouble.
Wow.
There is now an investigation into all of them on why the supervisor let him leave, how he was able to get the rest of them without any authorization, especially the helicopter and the K-9 unit, to actually do something for an off-duty officer. And then Ellesmere police is also being investigated for their hand in this.
I got a question. Wait a minute. It doesn't even sound real. It sounds like something off of a soap opera. You're saying to me that a cop got into a little feud with a young kid who happens to be African-American. The cop is...
2 days before. Cop is white.
Okay, the white cop got into this little altercation 2 days before. So he assumed that this is the kid who found out where I live at.
Yep.
And he came and banged on my door or whatever. But even if he did do it, okay, this is where I am. Let's say it was that kid who banged on his door. Ding dong Dixie is what they call it.
Yep.
Did it give the cop the right to put him in, let's say he did it now. Did it give him the right to put him in the back of a police car and torture him with the level of heat that he tortured? The answer is absolutely not. Okay, so before we even get to the end of this story about them being investigated, they all should be fired.
Yes.
Without there being any fired and let them be sued by whatever legal rights cops have these days, because all of that was illegal. Even the helicopter, even the dog unit, he's off duty. What is going on with our police? As much as we try to support them, this is one of the reasons why you're doing too much.
Yep.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut in. That just doesn't make sense.
This is exactly why. And again, you see them grab him out the door. There is video, body-worn camera footage. They grab him out the door, throw him on the ground. The audio, when they first released it, was not working. So I don't know if they put audio on it now. But again, this is what people are dealing with. And again, they're trying to say, oh, it was just a mistaken victim. That's how they're trying to play this.
Is the NAACP involved in this?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So again, they try to say, oh, you know, in my mind, this was nothing more than a home invasion with a badge.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
And these officers all need to be held accountable.
While there are some good officers, there are some egregious ones, and we cannot hold them. We cannot say that all officers are bad, but we're tired of trying to give a little caveat saying, well, not all. When you got these thugs, racist, it's like, back in the day, for those of you who are older who are watching us, we had judges who wore black robes during the day and white robes at night, which the language I'm just giving you. This is what's going on. People are hiding behind their badges, hiding behind their positions, and they got a hidden agenda that they're living every day. That has to stop. You can talk about the murders, you can talk about this, and no, we are not saying, my father is a retired police officer. I am not advocating that all police officers are bad, but we are not going to overlook what this was reported last year, and nothing has happened. Now they're investigating now. This is ridiculous.
So I will say Walters, Kathy Jennings is going after Walters, the officer who did the assault.
Why is she taking so long?
It's the court case.
This is election year. I'm tired of the court case. Go ahead.
I know these cases take forever. The other officers have not been held accountable as of right now.
They should all be fired because they did things without there being authority saying you can do it. And if the authority said that they could do it, then they should be held accountable to?
Well, one of the things here, we have something that used to be called Law Enforcement Bill of Rights, which is now the police officers due process. It's called POPAC, due process, right? The Black Caucus did was change the name of it. And that was led by Melissa Minor Brown and Kendra Johnson, who's the chair of the Black Caucus. But they did not change what's actually in the bill. So while we want to see action happen, those other officers under the POPAC are still protected, still given certain rights for them not to be held accountable for their role in this. And it's cool because, if you're an elected official and you have a position of power, you could just pick up the phone and call the governor or the superintendent of the state police and get it handled, or the AG. But us regular people cannot. And that's what some of these elected officials need to understand, especially the ones who get up there and fake cry while they read their notes and think they're doing something and talk about, oh, we finally made it. No, we haven't. You made it because you have a position of power. You have honorable next to your name. But guess what? Most officers don't know who you are. At the end of the day, they just see you as another Negro. And that's what they need to understand. But they don't. Yeah. They get it in their head because they get invited to fancy dinners and get to give speeches and get the pictures taken.
Well, I'm going to say something. The president of Lincoln University, Dr. Nera Sudarka, says she's going on now. But she made a comment that I'm going to always treasure. She said, here at Lincoln, we will defend what is right and let the legal system do what the legal system does. And if we get sued because we did what was right, so be it. At some point, to show African Americans that there is truly a justice system. I understand their Bill of Rights. Let them sue you and let them go through the court system, not getting a paycheck, and if it finds that, they were innocent, then you deal with that later. But for right now, some of this stuff needs to be better handled.
I agree with you. My next topic is a little lighter, I guess. It's reparations. Okay,
yeah, it's a lot lighter.
So after a year and a half, the report had been submitted back in March. A 31-page report was submitted to City Council. This past Thursday, City Council finally accepted the report. And now that gives them the ability to take some of those recommendations and start working on crafting legislation to actually get them passed, right? So we gave them the blueprint. Let's see what they actually do. But some of the things I want to highlight in that, right?
And you said before you go, you said we gave them the blueprint. This is the city of Wilmington, right?
This is the city of Wilmington,
okay,
City Council.
Okay.
Yes. So again, we are trying. One of the things we know is a disparity here in Delaware and in Wilmington is access to becoming lawyers for African Americans. We know that the bar exam is very skewed to a more corporate-minded system. So again, there has never been that real investment in Black and brown people to actually encourage them to go into those courts and come back and be civil rights lawyers. That's why we don't have too many here. Housing disparities, this is something that I personally worked on. I did the research on, and I came up with the idea of creating a Wilmington Housing Reparations Fund. And this will assist with home ownership. This will allow for mortgage assistance, rental assistance, utility assistance, down payment, security deposit, to start closing the gap that we see with that. Housing is one of the quickest ways to build generational wealth. And again, this also advocates on a state level. We want city council to ask for property tax relief for African Americans in the city of Wilmington. The funds that would go into this fund would be open from corporate, open from state, federal, county, but the baseline that we're asking for is $3 million over the next 30 years that come in from the vacant property fees. And the goal of that is, one, hopefully those vacant property fees go down over the years. It's about 50% of the actual revenue they bring in from vacant property fees, so $6 million per year. Hopefully it goes down as people start going into these homes, fixing them up, and stabilizing neighborhoods as well too, especially those who are in traditionally Black neighborhoods. That's where we see some of the largest vacancies and blight as well too. So the goal is to fix two things in one. Some other things is guaranteed income program for descendants of slaves. That would be a universal income, which means it could either be annual checks or monthly checks at a certain rate, right? So again, based off the city council's budget and the budget that we do have, having them find the money to do that across the board for descendants of descendants of slaves. One of the other big things is invest more money into early education centers, because that 0 to 5 age range, that especially 0 to 3, is one of the most critical that you can invest in a child's life. That sets them up on their educational pathway for success. And then also to increase the number of African American teachers that live and teach in Wilmington, giving them the opportunity to get reduced mortgages, waive taxes for them. It's a workforce housing program to increase the number of teachers. That would also incentivize people to want to go into teaching as well too, with the agreement that you would stay in your house for 5-10 years, whatever the final set number that they want to agree on as a council. But again, that is the blueprint to get it done. And again, more money into trauma-informed training and community-based programming. Our community has been through a lot. We face a lot of gun violence, and one of the things that we don't get here is we don't get that knock on the door after a community just went through a gun shooting, right? A shooting. They do out in the county. They send their teams out there. They meet with them. They offer free therapy for the community. They don't do that here in Wilmington. So we live and normalize that trauma of gun violence, which then creates that cycle of violence that is perpetuated throughout the city of Wilmington right now. And again, environmental, some of the things is addressing the toxicity in the environment in the city of Wilmington. That's air, that's water, that's addressing lead, right? Doing a better job with that. Actually putting federal dollars where federal dollars are supposed to be, not taking it and giving it to developers to develop new stuff. Address some of the aging infrastructure that we have here in Black communities that y'all keep forgetting about, but y'all keep updating it over in the 8th District and in other places. Again, create more recreational opportunities for African American neighborhoods as well too. So again, this is it's a full list. It's 31 pages, but that's just some of the things that we wanted to highlight. The public was involved. We took a long time to get this done, a lot of research. We had expert witnesses come in, but again, this is a very small step and a long staircase towards justice for this community. But that is all I have on that. Next, I want to talk about the upcoming May 14th school board elections.
May 14th?
May 14th,
Write
next
that down.
Tuesday.
May 14th, okay.
2 days from now. Again, if you live in Brandywine School District, you do not have a school board election. If you live in Christina School District, you do not have a school board election. But if you live in Colonial, if you live in Appo, if you live in Red Clay, you have an election on May 14th. All those races have at least one or two people running in it. Brandywine had someone withdraw. That's why we don't have an election in my school district that I live in. And same thing happened in Christina. One person withdrew just last week from that race. So again, it's just one person on the ballot for all the slots.
Why do you think people are withdrawing?
I think people sign up for these because they don't understand that it actually takes some money to campaign. I actually had someone who withdrew last year who said to me, I withdrew because I signed up, I wanted to do good, and then I found out you don't even get paid for this. So it's monthly meetings where you literally have the power to shape the minds of a young generation and you don't get paid for it. Yeah. The sad thing about that is sometimes the right people may not have the time or the ability to do it without getting paid. And I'm not saying they're in it for the money, but I'm saying it because they have a family to provide for. They have bills to pay, right? So again, sometimes you get people who maybe don't have the best interest of the students, but because they are independently wealthy, they're able to go ahead and do this and try to ban things like critical race theory that we're teaching to kindergarteners, because even though it's a college level theory class, we teach those to kindergarten here in Delaware.
Really?
We had a lot of people who ran on that platform of we have to stop the CRT. I'll say of one person who's not involved with the school board, but whose name is brought up a lot is Representative Sherry Dorsey Walker. The people who I don't want to see on school board mention her quite often because she passed a Black History bill here in the state of Delaware to include that into the curriculum. They have called her all types of names for wanting to make sure that we are teaching that Black history is a part of American history and is so much more than just Dr. King did one march in Washington and then the very next day the Civil Rights Act was signed. No. It's so much more than that, that I think kids will benefit from learning. Next, I also want to talk about General Assembly. They are coming up on their last month pretty soon. Right now, they're in the bond time, which means they are hearing about different projects, seeing where they will be putting money. There was an announcement that they're putting $195 million into the port expansion up in Edgemore. But there's a bunch of other projects that are waiting to get funds from the bond committee. So we will see where that money will go.
I had an opportunity to have a conversation with one of our representatives, Frank Cook, I believe he's on the bond. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that he was very much interested in, and I'm going to be giving him his credit, is that whole port up there, it will bring a lot more revenue in. It doesn't have to, like the one down in Wilmington, he assured me that it would survive, but it's the one that you're speaking of now have a lot of potential because of the ground don't have to be dug as much at the bottom, and there's a lot of money is going towards that.
So the Port of Wilmington, and this would all be under the same entity. The Port of Wilmington currently is dredged out. I think 35 feet, right? That's how deep it is. So ship containers can come in, but the average large ship container needs at least 45. So a lot of these, and they can't make that turn into our port. Because Edgemore will be right on the river, it's already 45. They'll be able to just pull up and then go out, right? That's why a lot of industries go past us to the Philadelphia port, or go past us to the Baltimore port. Now, right now, we have seen an increase in shipping crates that come up coming up this way because of what happened at Key Bridge, with the collapse down there, and that impact is having on the port down there. But we're still one of the number one on the East Coast, number one fruit ports. So most likely your fruit is coming from the port of Wilmington. Even though, you know, prices are going up, I would rather just, you know, stop over there and do my little shopping.
Well, every so often but you know what? It's funny you say that, because for those of you who are watching, if you have not had an opportunity to go to the product junction and Newport, you might want to try that. When you said that, it hit me. I went in there by mistake looking for something, and it blew my mind how reasonable and cheap the prices are. So I'm just giving them a little plug. Go to, it's called the Produce Junction, and it's right there in Newport, right next to the movie 10. I don't know who I'm talking to, but it will save you on your bananas and your strawberries, because that's very big in my house.
Strawberries are so expensive.
Oh no, go there. You'll be very shocked.
And my last thing I want to add is on May 20th, we are hosting a debate for the governor candidates. All three have confirmed, as well as the one Republican, Jerry Price, has confirmed as well too. It will be at Canaan Baptist by Bolarama. I don't know their address off the top of my head, on Newcastle Ave. Again, it is open to the public. It's completely free. It's to get information out there, but it would be at 6 p.m. We're opening up the doors with the start time around 6:15.
Now, what organization is sponsoring that?
So the Metropolitan Wilmington Urban League, A. Philip Randolph, Canaan Baptist, 100 Black Men, the Newcastle Pan-Atlantic Council, 100 Black Women, and Jack and Jill.
Okay, because I'm planning to I'm thinking about scheduling one for the mayor, and I may want to do something with the governor too. And I'm just trying to see who did that, so I won't be in any competing. Okay, that's really good. So give us that date again.
May 20th. It's going to be a good night. And if y'all have questions,
you don't know if it's going to be a good night or not.
Oh, I know it's going to be a good night.
It's going to be well organized. But we want to see who. It may not be a good night for both of them.
Well, listen, someone's going to have a good night.
Okay, all right.
Whether it's me with my popcorn in the back, I will be enjoying myself. Yeah. But this is the first debate of the season. And again, we have been doing this series since 2018 or maybe 2016, the Urban League, in some way, some form. The last two cycles, they've both been completely virtual because of the pandemic, but now we're back in person.
Yeah, that's going to be fun. I think I need to be there. So give me the date one more time.
May 20th, 6 p.m., Canaan Baptist Church.
All right. So those of you, it's right near the Bolarama. For those of you who are watching us, because I don't have their address.
We'll put the flyer up.
Oh, yeah, okay. And we'll try our best to have sure the flyer is up there. But it's on May the 20th at 6 p.m. at the Canaan Baptist Church. It's going to be the first gubernatorial debate, and we look forward to that. I might have to show up for that. You know, I don't show up for a whole lot of things, but I may show up so I know how to do it and do it right. Anything else on your plate?
That's all I have.
All right, we're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, I want to talk to you all, and I want to indulge him. It's going to be almost like an interview about the recklessness that is going on, where there's people who are basically saying, we're going to sit this one out, we're going to allow this to happen. And because not so much the source extends beyond Delaware, but this is aired on our YouTube channel. And I really want to make sure that we start talking about you're playing into the right game. For those of you who support Donald Trump, hey, this is working in your favor. For those of you who do not support him and do not want to see him there, it's working in his game. And even though a poll came out where Biden is winning in one of the states this week, we can't play with this. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and we're going to come right back. And we're back. I wanted to just take a moment, Coby, and just talk with you and the viewing audience. And I wish that at some point we get an opportunity for people to call in and just give their opinion on certain things. But it's very reckless with people who are making comments and saying things like, I'm not voting. I can't stand Trump, and Sleepy Joe is just sleeping. We also have another issue that's rising, that's working in Trump's favor. And listen, I am definitely not a Trump supporter. I am definitely supporting Joe Biden. But I'm not saying that I'm not open. I'm a scholar. I believe in giving people an opportunity to voice their opinions. I believe in giving people an opportunity to share what they want to share. But what I'm noticing is that people are saying, look, I'm just going to sit this one out because I don't like Joe and I don't like Trump. That is what Trump wants. For those of you who just saying Joe is too old, Joe is sleeping too much, but this is what's happening with this whole Gaza and Israel's war, where one of the Democrats made a comment, one of the senators, his name just slipped out of my head, who said this is going to be his Vietnam. And I kind of agree, only in that, not because so many people are being killed, but really because people are going to sit this one out and say, I don't care what happens, because Joe should not be supporting Israel. All these people are dying in Gaza, and that is true. And I noticed Joe is starting to shift and saying, look, because I believe he have a love for people. He has a love for humanity. But for us to just say, I'm not going to vote for either or, unacceptable. Unacceptable. You have to put on your big underclothes and say, I'm going to vote, even if I got to vote holding my nose. Because if enough of you and enough of the states that is considered as the swing states say we're not going to vote, he's going to win. Who is he? Not the boogeyman, Donald Trump. And if you're saying you're not supporting him, don't come to us saying all your rights are violated, we got a dictator as the president, and that this is going on and that's going on, and we can't get any rights when you didn't vote. I remember, Coby, you made a comment, and I said, I don't think that was good. He said something to the fact that if you're not going to vote for the school board, don't come complaining about it. And I said, well, I don't think that's so kosher. But now I'm starting to understand it. You cannot complain about a system that you're not participating in. And I was very upset, and this is me talking now, when even one of our co-hosts made a comment, I'm not voting for this person. I'm not going to be fake and phony. Well, you're fake and phony when you don't vote, because it's a part of the democracy. We only have two candidates at this point who could probably win. Now, there is the Kennedy guy who think he can't, he's not in no double digits anywhere.
Correct.
So he cannot win. To vote in that area is to waste a vote and to support the candidate who we're really trying to make sure doesn't get into the office.
So we've seen this before. We saw this in the 2000 election with Bush and Gore.
Yeah.
We saw this dating all the way back to Vietnam. And that was Senator Sanders, Bernie Sanders.
Yes, Bernie Sanders, yes.
Now, why is that important? Because Vietnam led to President Johnson decided not to run for re-election. Senator Sanders was an opponent of Joe Biden in 2020, ran against Hillary in 2016. Just a few weeks ago in April, stood shoulder to shoulder with President Biden to talk about what they've been able to get done with healthcare and with climate. Senator Sanders has come out in full support of President Biden. And I need people to understand that. Even though y'all may not like Senator Sanders, he has a base in the Democratic Party with progressives and with a lot of younger voters.
Right.
They love Senator Sanders. So if Senator Sanders is saying, look, I know things are bad, but we have a better opportunity with Joe Biden than we do with Donald Trump, I need y'all to vote for Joe Biden. A lot of them will. Now, some of them are still hesitant because of what's going on in Gaza. Right. And I think you see that the president is finally starting to wake up. It's sad. And I am the vice chair of the Democratic Party in Delaware. I am a national delegate for the president of the United States of America. I've met with the president numerous times. And I'm saying this too. It is sad it took an old white man finally saying, look, you got to wake up and smell the coffee on this. We cannot continue to be complicit in this. And it's not a war, because a war would mean there's two militaries, two opposing sides. This genocide that is happening in Gaza. And here's the thing also. President Biden announced earlier this week that he told the Israeli government that if they attack this one last city, that has now the vast majority of Palestinians in it for the entire country is now in one centralized area, then we will no longer send you any more support.
Right.
And that's a huge turn for we will stand with them no matter what.
Absolutely.
It is sad that it has taken this long. It is sad that young people across this country are walking out of their classrooms and joining encampments all across this country. In New York, you had 12 high schools walk out and join the encampment at Columbia. You had down in DC at GW, the Republicans forced the mayor, because DC still does not have their own statehood, forced the mayor to attack those kids. This is coming off the anniversary of what happened at Kent State during the Vietnam protests where 4 kids were killed by the cops. You see in these paramilitary stormtroopers I call them, march in and arrest students, arrest professors. You had, and it was one of the Ivy League schools, I can't remember which one, but you had the professors come out because they knew the cops were about to clear out the encampment. They had vests on. It was all the unionized teachers. They came out and they stood in between the police and the students and said, if you're taking them out, you got to take us all out. And after a long standoff, the cops backed down at the direction of the school principal because president, because the president knew I can't lock up my whole, all my departments.
Right. I think that was Columbia.
Yeah. When you have, I think they said it was 90% of department chairs was on the front line, the very front line of the teachers. That's a very powerful message.
Well, it is. That's tenure.
Yes.
Yeah.
So again, we are in a trying time. And the poll was in Wisconsin, and which Biden is now winning, which is a swing state, right? It's probably going to be our closest swing state. But he is still not doing good in Michigan.
Right.
At the beginning of this cycle, North Carolina was in play. Georgia was in play. Arizona was in play. But if young people do not come out and vote in those states, Joe Biden does not win. If black people do not come out in the numbers that are either 80% of what they were in 2020, Joe Biden will not win.
But let me make sure people understand the severity of it, sincerity and severity of it. You made the comment about with Joe Biden we got to support. It's organized chaos. Okay, imagine if Donald Trump was in office when they sent those troopers to deal with the kids at the university or at the high school level. It would have been charge.
Yes.
Not, let's think about this. Let's second guess this. Let's hold back. This man is reckless. This man can care less about people's rights. As a matter of fact, the only rights he believes in is his whenever he can use them in order to benefit himself. So what I'm trying to say is, taking all of the data you just gave us, all the information you just gave us, this wouldn't even be a discussion because it's like, get rid of him, deal with him. And he don't have anybody that's going to be around him who can give him a second opinion.
Right.
He's putting around him in this next term people who just going to agree.
One of his potential VP picks, J.D. Vance, a senator from Ohio, was on CNN, and I forget her name, but he was asked, do you believe if individuals take over a building and disregard what the police are saying to leave, that they should be charged with a crime? And he said, yes, absolutely. These students need to be charged. They need to be punished and held accountable for their actions. And she said, well, that's good. How do you feel about January 6th?
His whole
well, you know, that was just an expression. Most people were just viewing that's a public building. Oh, but this is a public building too.
And then he brought up the what's the black group called?
Antifa.
Yeah, and then he brought up Antifa about what happened with the killing of George Floyd. So it shows that they have a mindset.
Yep.
African American people, call your cousins, your aunties, and all those folks and let them know that it's going to be a different day. And when there is no possibility of running again, if we even have that, because he's going to try to be president for life.
Yeah.
Because that hasn't been talked about a whole lot. But there is no possibility for a re-election if he doesn't get that. So he can be reckless. Our democracy is at risk, and I'm not going to tolerate on any show that I'm paying for, whether it be a co-host or anyone else, saying I am not going to vote. I can't tell you who to vote for. I can't tell you that. But let's not be reckless. And that's really where I am right now, is that we cannot afford to be reckless with our decisions and then be putting it out there. I pay attention to certain things. Very few people, you made a comment about the school board. A person decided they was not going to run because it's not paid. I pay attention to some of the elected people. They're quick on telling you, we need more money to be paid. We need more money to be paid. But what are they doing outside of the things that they're being paid for? It's reckless for us not to participate in this process. We cannot afford, and I'm saying as my own person, to allow Joe Biden not to win, given the two we have. One or the other will become president. And they're also saying, people behind the scene, the hidden agenda, well, we don't want Joe Biden because if he dies, look at the boogie woman that's going to be the president of the United States. Well-educated, top of her class student. Kamala Harris is very bright, ran a very good campaign. She just did not do well enough to get the nomination. Pay attention to all the dynamics. We need to be voting. For those of you who are in Detroit, who I have a lot of family out there, I'm telling you, get out there and vote. Don't play this game. Don't allow people to get you in a position where you feel like, well, it doesn't matter. It does matter. Every vote matter. And he only won Michigan by a very slim margin. He only won Georgia by a very slim margin. So we need to be making sure we telling everybody, you got to vote. Trump does not want you to vote. He wants to keep this organized chaos going on so he can slip in and destroy our country. That's me speaking. I'm only one voice. But I know our media goes out beyond just the city of Wilmington. So I'm begging you, let's not be reckless. And I'm not going to permit anyone on this show, any more further until after the election, to talk about anything sitting it out. We're not sitting it out. We're standing up and we're voting. We're putting on our clothes and we're doing what we have to do in order to show America that we're going to be here beyond just this election. But we will not be here beyond this election if we end up with a Trump in that White House. I'm sorry. We saw what happened on January 6th. Biden won the election, but it was just a little, on January the 6th, it was just a little tour. Where the same senators were afraid, they were scared, they had to escort the vice president out to a secret location, but it was just a little tour. They will give the narrative that they want to give. I'm telling you, be very careful. Be very careful to play games and be very careful to allow people to influence you to believe that, it doesn't matter. It does matter. We must vote. I'm sorry I'm taking up all the time. Is there anything else you want to share?
That's all I have.
Well, before I go, I'm going to say it to you again, and I'm looking you right in your face as the pastor of Zion Fair, as executive director for the Academy, as the host of The Source, the Coffee with Curry, and that spiritual hour that I do every Sunday. I'm begging you, let's make a decision. I can't tell you to vote for Joe Biden. For those of you across this country, I can't tell you that and be legal in saying it. But I am saying to you, we are in a critical moment. We're in a critical time. We're in a critical season. This is not a time to play games because you didn't get your way. I am not happy what happened in Gaza, and I'm very upset, and we're going to hold people accountable. But listen, our personal democracy is at risk. We must vote, and we must ensure that Donald Trump does not make it into the White House. He makes it into the White House, it's not going to be about a boogeyman. You're going to see rights violated at a level you've never seen. Did you know that the attorney general that he had at one point was criticizing him, talking negative about him, sharing how he was crazy? Now he's on his bandwagon as his best friend. These are the people coming together because they sensing that black folks, white folks, poor people are not going to vote for Joe Biden. He may win. Let's prove them wrong. Let's all stand up strong. Let's stand up tall. Let's save democracy. Anything else from you today, Brother Coby?
That's all I have.
This is our show for the day, and I thank you very much for the time that we shared together. And listen, I'm just a preacher who love people. If you're going to take any advice from me, please get out and vote when it's time for election across this country. Until the next time, God bless you.
Take care, y'all.